Thanks for tuning in for this month's Child Life Q&A. My name is Jacqueline Garborg, and I am the Communication Coordinator here at Hope for HIE, and I'm also an HIE parent. I'm here with Annie Gunning, our Child Life Specialist and Grief Counselor. Thanks, Annie, for being here.
Yes, of course. Happy to do this again.
So March is Child Life Month, and so today we're going to be talking all about the role of a Child Life Specialist, both in the traditional medical setting and how Annie supports our families and siblings through Hope for HIE.
Yes.
So we can just jump in and start with talking about what is a Child Life Specialist and what do they do?
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here and talk about this, especially this month. And I also have to give a shout out to my partners in crime, typically the social workers. It's Social Worker Month too. So we usually work really closely together. But as far as child life is concerned, our role is helping children and families cope with a diagnosis, hospitalization, medical procedure, and then all the feelings that come along with those things. So we are trained in child development and the emotional impact of illness and medical experiences. And we typically do that through preparation, through play, emotional support, just to help families and children feel more confident, less alone, decrease anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are some of the biggest emotional needs that you see in families who are navigating more complex medical journeys, like our HIE families?
Yeah, it is. And yes, for sure, HIE families, and even if you're in the hospital for something else, right, that just happens to happen. But I see families holding so much. There's fear, uncertainty, grief, but also at the same time, there's this huge amount of love and deep hope that families have. So helping them kind of validate that all of these feelings are normal, and helping them and reassuring them, like, what are your questions? Let's talk about it. And giving them that way to express, that safe space to express both of those things at the same time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So obviously, traditionally, child life specialists have been in the hospital or medical setting. So what does that look like? What does child life support look like within the hospital or NICU?
Yes. So and you are absolutely right. Now, in the past, maybe 5-10 years, you've seen a little bit more of a shift of child life specialists working outside of the hospital. And obviously that's one of the things I do. I worked in the hospital for over 20 years, and now I work in a community-based setting and with Hope. So in the hospital setting, it's more of, we're helping you cope in real time. That might be a procedure that you're in the hospital for. That might be an emergency room visit, supporting parents at the bedside, explaining information in child-friendly ways and helping them cope in that moment, while also creating that moments of normalcy through play and bonding. So in the hospital, we celebrate milestones, we celebrate birthdays, we do all of the regular family things. We help to get siblings involved and make sure that they're also included and understand. So that's more of like the real life that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How do child life specialists help children cope with different procedures and treatments?
Yes, I think this is one of really the biggest thing that we are doing inside the hospital. And then it's even obviously trickling now out of the hospital. But we use preparation, comfort strategies, coping plans. And those are kind of the three big things that we're working on. And we do that through medical play. So explaining in simple language and offering choices, what is going to happen. And we use real medical supplies. So if I have a kid having an IV or sutures, I bring those things in, let them see and hold the materials. And by letting them do that, that gives them a little bit more control. It allows them to gain mastery. It gives empowerment. And when you give those choices, that helps them, you give those choices, that helps them feel empowered in a situation that's really out of their control, right? So we want to give them some of that power and control back. And then we also use things like distraction, breathing techniques, comfort items, comfort positions. All of this together reduces fear and builds trust with the staff, the medical team. And that's really what we're hoping for.
Right. there's so many procedures, as you know, that we go through personally with our family that
Yeah.
is, I wish that we had child life support during the time. And now that we know more about it, I'm excited to be able to help our son go through
Yeah.
more procedures.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like as far as like with our Hope families too, like I do calls, virtual, like phone
Mhm,
calls or virtual visits, and I go through like preparations with the parent, or
mhm,
I even do them with a child or with the sibling. So
right.
I might bring all my medical stuff, and do it via video conference, but
Mhm,
just anything to help them understand what they're going to be doing, and giving them that space to ask those questions. And I always like to reflect back on, well, what do you think that means? Because that
right,
helps you understand where they're at.
right.
And then you can clear up those misconceptions. Because sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, no, that is not at all what we're doing. I can see why you're scared,
Yeah, and help with the
So,
fear going into the situation. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
Definitely.
definitely.
So yeah, you said that you support families and children. How do you also support the siblings when a baby or a child is hospitalized?
Yeah. So siblings are really were a huge reason of why I wanted to now work in the community, because I do feel like they are almost the forgotten children or people in healthcare,
Mhm.
as are children of adult patients. So if someone isn't in the hospital, um, but they're still going through all these medical experiences and appointments, like a lot of our families do, siblings are still affected by all of
Right.
this. So just helping them in the same way you would a child who's in the hospital, helping them understand what's happening, doing that medical play with them, that diagnosis education, helping them to feel included and have it just their own space
Right.
to process and share their emotions. So using any kind of books, or just any kind of play and education that's hands-on, helps them feel less confused and less alone, and that they're just included in this too.
Mhm. Mhm. So after families leave the hospital, what support needs continue once they come home?
The Everything that happens during a hospitalization, I think, whether it's at birth, or you happen to be admitted for an illness, that emotional journey, that medical, that doesn't end just when you're discharged, right?
Mhm.
Families are still processing trauma, they're adjusting to medical needs, they're managing the uncertainty, they're going to hospital visits, doctor's appointments, these developmental concerns. So things are still continuing
Mhm.
after discharge. Like, don't get everybody's happy, like, I'm glad to be out of the hospital, I'm glad to be home. But
Right.
that doesn't mean that there's not ongoing medical anxiety and questions. So it's really important to still provide that support to families
Mhm.
and give them that space to talk through the things that are coming up, the appointments that are coming up, and just helping them to feel more empowered. I feel like one of the things I like to do, or do with parents, is helping them, like, I don't know, it's giving them the empowerment, letting them know they can
Right.
advocate for their child. These are the questions you can ask. These are the things you can do during the appointments and during upcoming, if you have future hospital visits. So it's really giving them the wording and the skills to advocate for their child too, because they know them best.
Right. Right. Why would you say that child life is valuable? We kind of touched on this a little bit, and important for families after they're discharged.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, like what we said, it just helping them to understand what they've acknowledging what they've been through, and
Mhm.
helping them feel empowered to support their child emotionally.
Mhm.
This isn't just a physical thing. We know that this is connected emotionally, and emotional and physical healing and connection and processing. That's all connected. So just making sure we're here for the parents as they continue that journey after a hospitalization.
Right. How is your work here at Hope for HIE similar to what you did within the hospital?
A lot of it is really like the heart of child life is really the same. It's helping families feel supported,
Mhm.
informed, less alone through their medical and just challenges in general that they're going through. In the hospital, we're focusing more on, like I said, the in the moment procedures, understanding the diagnosis, coping with the treatments, all to reduce fear through education and play. And
Mhm.
at Hope for HIE, now that we're outside of the hospital and we're in the community, it's that same support. It's helping families navigate that ongoing medical experiences, potential hospitalizations, follow-up appointments, tests coming up, and all the emotions that come with that too, because it's the same things it's still the uncertainty, the fear, the questions, the medical anxieties. And I think a lot of parents that I've talked to too, they've talked about, well, last time we went, it was traumatic and my kid was, they were just traumatized, they were screaming. And how do we fix that? Like, how do we help them? Right. So it's really helping families also understand, okay, this is what you did last time. Let's understand that this is what we can work on this time to help giving you the skills to help your child, and then also giving the child the skills and the things they need to decrease that anxiety, right?
Yeah.
That one traumatic experience can really affect
future
things. So you know this firsthand. So like acknowledging those things. Okay, what are we going to do better next time?
Yeah.
As long as we're seeing like a little bit more improvement and focusing on that emotional safety for the child and giving them practical tools that they can use.
Right. Yeah, a lot of it is moving on from a really traumatic experience that has already happened that, a lot of our families, like myself, didn't really know about. We didn't have child life support within the NICU, but then after like subsequent hospitalizations, if you're still not informed about that, or the hospital that you're at doesn't have those services, utilizing them through Hope for HIE is so, so valuable.
Yes. And
I can speak to you personally.
And when I've worked with families, I've asked them like, well, what hospital are you at? Let me check and see if they have a child life department. And, you're going to be in surgery. Let me see if they have somebody that covers surgery, because child life is important, but typically a lot of child life specialists are stretched across multiple units.
Yeah.
So, unless it's a really large freestanding children's hospital that has 30 child life specialists, a lot of them have a few in their so you might not have somebody. So that's why doing this with Hope for HIE is so important, because now you're getting some child life support, some education, the child's getting support, but then I can make a phone call and be like, hey, they do have child life. This is the person's name. This is who you can ask for to come and help you. So I'm happy to do that as well.
And it has helped me as a parent to be able to, if there's not a child life specialist, or if, I'm curious about a child life specialist, it helps me to advocate for my child, like going into the appointment outside of, getting support through Hope for HIE, but it also helps to empower me as a parent to be able to get the services that my child needs and the support going into procedures, which is so great.
Absolutely. And like, I've had conversations with parents. I'm like, these are the things you can ask for at the hospital. They will have, you can ask them for sound machines. So you're not bringing everything, but these are things you can ask for. Ask the therapy department if you can borrow a mat to put on the floor for your child to play with in their room. Like, there's just things that we can do to create that normalcy. We still want them to play. We want them to do normal things. That helps them cope better. We know these things help lead to a sooner discharge, better, those things help. So we want to include those things and make sure parents know about them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And most people just don't know.
Right. And long-term relationship for the child within the medical setting too.
Yes, absolutely.
So what is different about child life support at Hope for HIE?
I think the biggest difference is, in a hospital where you're there for 5 days, I'm there for 5 days with you, or an ED visit where it's quick, but at Hope, like, this is long-term. Like, we're here, right? This isn't just one procedure, one diagnosis, one illness. This is anytime, right? So across the entire journey through various phases, whether you do have a surgery coming up, or you do have an appointment, or maybe there's been nothing, and then all of a sudden you have to go in for one test. So it's just continuous. So anything, either, like I said, Zoom calls, phone calls, emails, resources, that's all the kind of stuff that we can continuously do and engage with.
So what services can Hope families expect from child life support within our organization?
I think everything that we just talked about, really, like we've kind of touched on a little bit, but to get into it, like list it out, preparation for medical experiences,
Mm-hmm.
developmental play support or suggestions. I have a lot of families that reach out and maybe their child isn't playing in the typical way that they think they would or they thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
So offering suggestions and ideas of all the things that you can do that are developmentally appropriate play, using child-friendly language and medical terminology. So just
Mm-hmm.
helping parents giving them the language and the words to use to be able to talk to their child.
Right.
Sibling support, grief and coping resources and support. Like you mentioned, I'm also a certified grief counselor. And that is really like specific to how I supporting children or
Mm-hmm.
helping parents support their child. Like I don't focus on adults. It's like children grief that I focus on. And then just that parent education. And then just recently with Jen, our social worker, we did an infant massage teaching session. So I'm certified in infant massage. And then we have super sibs and SOAR programs. So
Mm-hmm.
lots of different things to meet you wherever you are in your journey.
Right. How do you help parents support their child emotionally through different medical needs and uncertainty?
A big part of what I do is helping parents, I think, feel more confident, not only emotionally, but also in advocating, like we just talked, and advocating for their child during hospital stays or appointments.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of parents feel, they've shared with me, it's just overwhelming. Like overnight, you become this like doctor.
Yeah.
And learning medical, like all this world that you never knew, all of a sudden overnight, you have just gone through like 4 years of med school and you know all of these medical terms and, so just giving them that space to help them digest that and talk about it. I think one thing parents say to me all the time, and this kind of goes a little bit with siblings or with their child, like when they have to talk to them about a diagnosis or, provide some type of medical education, they're always, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess them up. And I really want to point out, like, to parents, you're not. And I want them to know they're doing probably a way better job than what they give themselves credit for. But I am here to help guide you and give you some language to use, some books and tools to use. Books are a great resource that I like to use and give parents, because then if you don't have the language and you don't know what to say, books give you that language, but still give you the opportunity to have that conversation, open the doors for communication with their child. So just helping them feel empowered in what they're already doing.
Mm-hmm. So, excuse me, grief and trauma, as we know, can be a big part of the HIE journey. How do you hold space for that and for our families?
Definitely, right? We know that HIE can carry deep love and deep grief. Sometimes it's at the same time, right? So acknowledging the loss, the uncertainty, the trauma, all of that is grief. There's ambiguous grief. There's secondary loss, or ambiguous loss and secondary loss. So which is the things that we were hoping for, the things we're going to miss out on. So just kind of holding space for that and acknowledging that's really hard. You can supporting that uncertainty and loss and trauma while also supporting resilience and connection through other resources and conversations and just offering that guidance and validation for the whole family. So I think it's just like there's both of those things can exist at the same time, and holding space for both of them, and they're all valid.
Right. Why would you say play is such an important tool for children with medical histories?
I mean, it's the foundation of my work. So I think the best thing in the world. It's everything that I do, and how even with teenagers, like I make them make Play-Doh and we have wonderful conversations. So it's how they process, like, especially like kids in general. Like I know teenagers, it is a little different, right? But kids, that's how they process their world. It's their language. It's how they express their feelings. Like they might not want to talk and say what they're feeling, but they will play it out with dolls. And I've had parents call me. It was an HIE family, it was another family I worked with, but they were very concerned about how their daughter was playing with her doll. And I'm like, this is actually wonderful. She's expressing herself and she's processing everything that she's seen and heard. And this is how she's doing it. So this is how she's understanding it. So it really, and it's normal. It's normal for them to play. So any kind of opportunities to offer creative expression, play, being outside, movement, music, all of that helps with coping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Personally, my son is obsessed with pokes right now. And so, yeah, after injections that he has to get for his CP, he'll come up to his dad and I and try and use his little play poke to give us a little
syringe,
poke. But I'll hold the syringe to our skin and like gauge our reaction and like, it's not done yet. It's,
absolutely.
It's play, and through that we can validate how he feels, and really cool. Really.
And when I do like I use dowels, I have like those gingerbread looking dowels without faces that kids really can't poke and really can push medicine in. It gives them that sense of control. And then I might say that, like, I might have the dowel move and be like, ow, that hurts really bad. And they're like, I'm like, what should we do to help them? Because then they'll put that on well, I think he wants to sit with his mom. I'm like, would that help him feel better? And then it just gives you like, they put how they're feeling onto, like, you can see it. What they're doing with the dowel is typically how they're feeling are things that they want. So you can create coping plan like so much through play. It's really incredible what I learned from kids through play.
Yeah, that's so cool. So is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything like what would you want all Hope families any Hope parent to know through this?
I think I want families to know that I am here. Hope is here, but child life support is here for any of those hospitalizations or appointments, or just times of uncertainty emotionally, and just within your family, to meet you where you're at. So it's really important. Like, this isn't a one size fits all. I am always available for a one-on-one, like anything that I feel like resources I put out or anything like that. It's typically general that can help, but I am here for one-on-one support to make sure it's tailored to what your family needs, what your child needs, and just meet them where they're at.
Right. Well, Annie, thank you so much for talking today and for sharing more about your role and how you support families. HIE Awareness Month is in April. So next month, we're going to have a special Child Life Q&A planned to talk about Remembrance Day and how we can honor loved ones lost to HIE and support families and siblings through the loss as well. So be sure to tune in for that session next month, which we'll be sharing more details about soon. Thanks, Annie.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.